Good evening, everyone. Several years ago, the power went out on our street. It was for a few hours. It was dusky outside. So inside, it still seemed a little too soon for candles and flashlights, but at the same time, it was a bit too dark and, well, boring to be sitting around the house. No TV, no internet, no microwave or oven. So nothing to do, nothing to eat, really, just the four of us. We went out on the front porch and sat in some chairs and enjoyed the last moments of the sunset and the neat little shades and shadows that the dusk brings. And there we talked. We shared, we laughed, we sang. Well, Hadley sang. She had her own different takes on musical numbers. It was fun, it was memorable, and this memory is tightly entrenched in my mind. It's odd how a moment is so great, all because it was so simple. No distractions, no hurriedness, no drama, just a family enjoying a few moments together. It's in times like this when we're pushed into an area where our priorities and opportunities are streamlined and all we really have is to simply focus on whatever it is that's left right in front of us. 1 Thessalonians 4:11. Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands. It's simple. In all the conversations about the coronavirus pandemic, it's often discussed about the financial impacts, the disease-related data, tier plans to slowly restore normal life again, and sharing the things we missed and the things we've taken for granted. As we are slowly returning to how things were, I'd like you to take a few moments and reflect on something else. What was good about it? Have you noticed anything at home or through work or even at church that you realize you actually didn't need? Anything that you realized was cluttering up your mind or your time when you were forced to prioritize the things that really matter? Hebrews 12:1-2 says, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. I think if you reflect on things like that, you might have some insight on where your spiritual focus may need to be placed. Has your calendar been interfering with your spiritual life? Have you found it easier to find time to pray? With your concern and worries over virus-related impacts, have there been other worries that used to occupy your mind that somehow you realize has just floated away because it turns out they weren't as important as you thought? Did you ever see that episode of the Andy Griffith Show where a missionary came as a guest speaker and preached a similar kind of message about the simple life and relaxing? Andy and Barney sat on the front porch and talked about the sermon and about the simpler days, and people would go picnicking and just sit and listen to the town's band play in the gazebo, and then they thought, wouldn't it be great if we could do that again? And so they started making plans, and they started, I had to repair the gazebo that was falling apart, and women started cooking lots of food, and they needed new uniforms for the band, and the band was horrible, so they needed a lot of practice. And people were getting irritated and frustrated, and they found themselves so obsessed with all the things they thought they needed to relax that they forgot all they needed to do was sit back and relax. The reality is our spiritual lives shouldn't be complicated. They may be hard, they may be challenging, they may be ever evolving, but they shouldn't be complicated. But yet somehow we let the world weigh down our souls and make it seem like we are constantly struggling to find ourselves spiritually. We're finding ourselves in constant need of being rescued when really we should be strong enough to be others' rescuers. Maybe there is something to taking time and refocusing and remembering that this isn't supposed to be complicated. It is, but it shouldn't have to be. Maybe what we really need is a little time with the power off to see our world for what it really is. Maybe we actually kind of needed a pandemic to knock us off of our feet so we could take a moment and see what was really important. I remember this story about a guy who meets this fisherman sitting at the end of a pier around midday who's starting to pack everything up. It goes something like, he said, why are you leaving so soon? Was it a bad day fishing? And he said, no, actually, it was good. I've actually caught all the fish I needed for today. He said, then why are you going home so early? He said, I don't know what you mean. Well, you could stay longer. There's still plenty of hours in the day. You could catch more fish. What would I want with more fish? He said, well, you could take them and you could sell them to other people and you could make money. He said, what would be the point of that? He's like, well, you could save up your money and buy a fishing boat. And that would let you buy nets, and then you could bring in more fish, and you need to hire people that would help you out, and you'd make even more money. And then you could have a lot more boats. You'd have this fleet, this fishing fleet, and you could make even more money. He said, why would I want to do all that? And he said, well, because at some point you can make so much money that you can sit down and just relax. He said, well, that's what I'm about to do right now. Psalm 46:10, he says, be still and know that I am God. Philippians 4:8, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about those things. Let's not make our spiritual lives more complicated than that. Let us thank God for seeing an opportunity in this life that has been provided to us to be introspective and prioritize what's really important in our spiritual lives and factor that in as we resume our old lives so that we can keep the main thing the main thing. Have a great week.